Well, it was fantastic seeing those beautiful floral displays, but we've got a little extra special treat that's not open to everybody. We've come to, well, I'm next to Peter Zale, who's going to tell us a bit about this laboratory you've got here and what you do here.
Right, so we're in the tissue culture laboratory here at Longwood Gardens, and this really is a main driver of a lot of the things that we're doing behind the scenes here. And really what we've been focusing on a lot lately is propagating native orchids here in the lab.
Excellent. Now, native orchids, we're thinking like North America, or are we thinking Pennsylvania?
So we work broadly across North America, and there's about 220 species of orchids in North America. But here in Pennsylvania, we're really fortunate to have about 60 different types of orchids.
60 different species, yeah?
Yeah, all of the orchids we have here in Pennsylvania are terrestrial, so they grow in the ground in many different habitats and really serve as symbols of ecological purity wherever you find them.
Gotcha. So I gather you've brought some samples to show us of how you grow these. Now, what's growing in here?
So these are seedling lady slipper orchids that are
I'm familiar with lady slipper.
Yeah.
That's that lovely pink, low to the ground.
Yeah, you've probably seen lady slippers. You know, there are tropical species and there are temperate species like we have here in PA, and you've probably seen them at nurseries and things like that. But ours are a little bit different because unlike the tropical ones, which are evergreen, ours are more seasonal. And that what you're seeing here is about a 6-month-old seedling. You can see roots and you can see a shoot. And basically, in order for them to produce leaves and to, grow and flower, they need cold. So what happens is we leave them in these test tubes until they're done growing, and they sort of signal to us that they're ready for cold. We take them out, put them in our fridge.
Do you ever get any mutations when you damage them?
We haven't had any mutations, but we get a lot of variation just because we're working with seedlings. So that we could have unusual flower colors, we could have, really vigorous plants, we could have things that produce more flowers. So we get those kinds of, natural mutations, I suppose, natural variation.
How long is it going to stay in the test tube for?
So it's going to live in that test tube for about another 6 months. And so the whole process in the lab is about 12 to 18 months. And then once we plant them up, it takes another 3 to 5 years for them to get their first flower. So it's a very long-term process. But the interesting thing is, lady slippers can live a very long time, and some people have even estimated they can live up to 300 or 400 years.
Seriously?
And so if you put them in the right place, in providing all of this goes right, they can be part of the gardens or restoration projects for centuries.
That's absolutely amazing. So, lady slippers, what is the right micro environment?
This is one native orchid that can do well in gardens, especially like in a north exposure or in a deciduous wood, same places where you'd grow things like hostas or trilliums or other shade-loving plants. So rich,
and all that stuff.
Exactly, rich, moist soil, good leaf layer in the fall. We've had them flower as quickly as 3 years out of the tube, but I would say 4 or 5 years is more typical.
You're obviously a very patient man when it comes to this. All good gardeners have to be patient, don't they?
I think any orchid grower has to have patience, yeah.
I was impressed just how long those tropical ones flower for, and we were talking months, but I gather Pennsylvania is a little bit different when it comes to orchids.
Absolutely. Our native orchids are much more succinct in their blooming periods, and so lady slipper orchids, for example, tend to flower for about 10 days, 14 days, 2 weeks, something like that. So it's a more abbreviated blooming season, but definitely worth a visit to see them because they're unlike anything.